You know, one thing I really liked about being in Colorado? I didn't hear a single train the entire time I was there. Hey everybody, my name is Rosalie and welcome back to my channel, Back to Chubby. Today's gonna be another Q&A. Before I get started though, thank you guys for all of your kind comments on our travel vlog. It was pretty new to me, so to answer the first question that I have today, and a lot of people asked this, was do I live in Colorado? No, I live in Kansas. I was just visiting Colorado, which the only real reason that was possible for us is because it's just a drive. Like, we can drive there in less than a day. Even that, like, 3 days in Colorado was kind of a misnomer. It was actually basically 2.5. Like, we drove there, got there around 3 in the afternoon, and spent the evening like at the Garden of the Gods, and then we spent 2 full days there and drove back on Sunday. But now I'm home. So before I get into any more questions though, I want to go ahead and do the weigh-in first, and then we will go from there.
Hello. It's ready. £367.0 pounds.
So 367 I'm actually pretty happy about for several reasons. First off, it's been about 2 weeks since the last time I weighed in. When I weighed in 2 weeks ago, it was 369. And I didn't weigh myself before we left, but then on our trip, I didn't track anything. Like, I tried to make semi-healthy decisions, but we were on vacation, so there was a little bit more comfort food than there usually is. And then the days leading up to that, I didn't meal plan or meal prep. I just tried to make healthy decisions and, you know, like a normal person who's living healthy would, I tried to just be conscious of what I was eating and do a decent job. And then this past week as well, I didn't meal prep or meal plan because we got back late Sunday night and I just didn't want to mess with it. So for me, who habitually almost gains weight every single time I travel, who gains weight every time I go on vacation, who seems to gain weight every time I don't plan or prep anything, to have all 3 of those happen in the span of 2 weeks and still go down rather than up or even stay the same, I was psyched. I'm pretty happy with that number, and I'm pretty sure next week it'll go down. I'm also happy with it because I've been sort of at a plateau for a few weeks. I know several of you know what I'm talking about, and I'm not saying I've completely broken out of it, but I'm hoping that this is a good sign. I've been like sort of going up and down right around the same number for a few weeks, and I was not happy about that. Also, 367 is 1 pound away from my current short-term goal, which is to get to 366, obviously. And at 366, I will have lost 25% of the weight I set out to lose. If this is your first time to my channel, I'm going to lose 277 pounds. Of those 277 pounds, I have lost 68 so far. Another reason I'm excited about that number is because I'm at the point now where if I take the 68 pounds I've lost and I do it again, I'll be out of the 300s. It'll put me at 299. So I'm pretty excited. Anyway, let's get to some of the questions you guys have asked. I'm mostly going to be taking them from the last Q&A video. A lot of people had some good questions there. I might pull out a few other ones just from like Instagram or wherever, if I can find my phone. Side note, you guys can follow me on Instagram. The first question comes from Mary Weichel, which is, can you do a video on the things that have changed since losing 66 pounds? Is breathing easier? Are you buying smaller clothes? I think that's a great question. And it's a several-part question, so I'll answer 2 parts of it now, but I think just sort of overall changes that I've seen since I've lost this much weight, I'm going to do a separate video on for that question, so thank you. And I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. I'm going to answer the second part of that question first, like have I been able to start buying smaller clothes? I have. And for a long time, I have not been able to buy clothes in the store, like not even Lane Bryant carried my sizes. I pretty much had to order things online or stick with stuff that had sort of grown with me, like just stretched out to where it could fit me still. So now I've gotten to where I can buy extended sizes in a store again, which is pretty exciting. I have no idea what size I would have been wearing because I was at the point where everything was in X's. If I were to order something online, it would have been a 6 or a 7X if they had it. But on our trip, I bought a 3X t-shirt, which fit. I actually bought it without trying it on, thinking that it was my next goal shirt, which is something that I used to do when I was trying to diet when I was younger and much smaller, but I haven't done this time. Something to look forward to wearing when I got that size. And I brought it home and I tried it on earlier today and it actually already fits. As to the first part, can I breathe better? Yes, I can. And I've actually found that I'm breathing a lot easier than I thought I was going to be able to, especially while we were walking around in Colorado, like Manitou Springs and at the Royal Gorge and stuff. I did have to stop a few times just because my knee hurt so bad, but like as far as stopping to actually catch my breath, I didn't have to stop as many times as I usually had to, even a few months ago, just walking through Walmart. And I don't think that my lungs have actually gotten any stronger because I haven't been working out enough or doing enough cardio, certainly, to make that happen. But the way I think about it is, like, if you are lifting weights and you get to where you can curl a 30-pound dumbbell pretty easily, and then you move down to a 20-pound dumbbell, it's not going to be as much of a challenge for you. So while my lungs and my diaphragm used to have to work for 435 pounds, 367 pounds, is that what I'm at? Yeah, 367 pounds is quite a bit easier to work with. So I'm pretty happy about it. And the reason I flipped that around is because this flows into another question that I've gotten from several people, which is, have I thought about starting to incorporate exercise, or what kind of exercises do I do, or when am I going to start working out? Variations on that. I have sort of started working out. I've started doing a aqua fit class, and it's pretty light cardio. And then I also do some Bowflex here in our house, and I've only been doing about 30 minutes a week, and I was doing that on purpose because I have a tendency when I work out to try and go real hard real fast like I used to when I was an athlete and in high school, and I usually end up hurting myself when I do that, and then I'm sort of laid up for a while. So even in Colorado, I tried to push myself because I didn't want to be a drag. I didn't want to make Josh have to keep stopping and waiting for me. And he does, like, without hurrying me or making me feel bad about it, but I feel bad about it. I did better than I expected in Colorado. I did so much better that I'm thinking maybe I should start doing some more exercise. Since we came back, I did go on a walk that I wouldn't normally do, and I realized that I was maybe starting to push it a little bit hard because those really steep hills, especially around the Royal Gorge, really did a number on my knee, and my bursitis has flared up terrible. So then I took a few days off, and so my original plan, which I've had this plan and I didn't really ever articulate it, and I don't think it really occurred to me that that was my plan, was I figured once I hit 350, I'd start working out more, on a more regular basis or a couple times a week, doing real workouts. And it is, at my size, a lot of work just to hop my body around in the water or whatever, but it just doesn't quite seem like a real workout to me. 350 might still be where I start aiming for because I was thinking I'd move that up to now. I don't know how coherent this answer is. Let me summarize. I kind of want to start working out. I don't know if I should. It's a little bit earlier than I planned on, but still pretty close, so I might. I feel like maybe in the future I should write down my answers before I try and speak them. I'm a much better written communicator than I am a verbal communicator. Okay, Nick Key asked about basically my PCOS symptoms and how they've changed since I've lost weight. Well, I still have quite a bit of hirsutism. Right now, you can see all these red dots. It's not acne, it's inflammation because I got rid of the hair on my face earlier today before I filmed this. I still have some painful cysts and I still have painful periods. My periods are still irregular. Obviously the weight's still an issue. Basically, a lot of my symptoms haven't gotten much better, but I've had PCOS for a long, long time. And a lot of these symptoms were still around even when I was 150 pounds. I don't know that I'm the best case to look at how losing weight helps the symptoms. Like some people's symptoms are exacerbated by their weight. Mine might be exacerbated by it, but I've still had most of the symptoms since I wasn't this heavy. So I know that's probably not the answer you want to hear. I do know for most people though, especially if their symptoms started when they got heavier, it does get better as they lose weight. And maybe when I lose some more weight, it will be better for me. But right now I'm still really heavy. So we'll see. We'll see if it gets better in another 68 pounds. Valerie Roxanne asked if I have any tips for doing this sort of vlog weight loss thing. And I think that's a great question. I think a lot of people have that, and I know a lot of people who comment are people who are starting out themselves and wanting people to go check out their journey as well, and just starting to try and do like YouTube or something like it. And I think I might do a separate video specifically about that, but some of my main tips aren't actually about the filming or anything. I would say to prepare yourself mentally for all kinds of feedback. And I don't do as well responding to comments as I would like just because I work several jobs, but I do read every single one of them. Good and bad. Helpful and not so helpful. And I would just say, if you're going to put yourself on YouTube, just be aware that there will be very helpful people. There will be very well-meaning people. There will be some people who are trying to be helpful and mean well, but don't come across that way. There will be people who don't mean well at all. There will be people who have a hard time with you just because you're heavy. There will be people who have a hard time with the way you try and lose weight. There will be a lot of hard things to hear. But overall, by and large, the weight loss community here on YouTube is very supportive of each other. I would just say that if you are wanting to start this, A, to be aware of that, but B, to just basically put out it in the universe what you want to get back. So if you see someone else on their weight loss journey, try and be supportive of them, and they will most likely be supportive of you. If you see a lot of negativity or get a lot of negative comments, you can either just leave them and ignore them or delete them off of your wall or whatever. Just try not to engage. So I guess my main tip before I do an actual video about the actual like technical side of this is to mentally prepare yourself for everything you do to be wrong. So Sabrina asks if I have any advice for someone with PCOS and a young son and a husband who's really not into this whole dieting thing. I feel like this is something I should do a longer video on because, well, for one thing, I get really long-winded when I answer questions, apparently. It's really kind of a hard question to answer because a lot of it depends on your relationship with each other. I'm generally in the same boat besides having a kid. Like, Josh is not a fan of dieting. He's not a fan of healthy food. If you tell him it's healthy, it's gonna taste bad to him. If he knows it's healthy, he won't want to eat it. I know it can be really hard to basically separate yourself from a group. So many of our communal settings with each other revolve around food. So it's really strange to like make yourself different dinner or make yourself a different lunch, especially if finances are a concern. It can be really difficult. So I think my first suggestion would be to try and find things he normally likes and that your son normally likes. Like for example, if he likes lasagna, maybe try and find a healthier version of that. I also recommend maybe trying to really plan out what you're gonna have ahead of time. Like you can get MyFitnessPal, which is free, and several other ones which are free, and actually plug in what you might want to have as a meal to see what nutrients or calories you would have, and then you would know exactly how much you need for yourself for that meal. And the reason I recommend that is because if you know your husband really, we'll just stick with lasagna. I'm just on an Italian food kick today. If your husband really loves lasagna and you know that he's going to eat X amount, you can still have lasagna and just know that you're going to have this much of it. And the thing that really helps me when I'm like preparing to shop for myself is I know like usually down to the ounce how much I'm going to need for the week, because I don't want to buy more and have it go to waste. And I don't want to spend more than I need to. I just want to get exactly the amount I need. And I know that it can be really hard with a kid, like trying to find the time to do that. You can find like some recipes that are already calculated out for you, like how much is in a serving. If you don't have Pinterest, it can be a pretty great resource. And then building like a meal plan around what's on sale and what you already have. And if your husband will only eat certain things, maybe just get enough to make you yourself what you would eat, or just try and eat smaller portions of whatever he would eat, or maybe he needs to make it himself. I don't know. It's a really hard question, and I think maybe I should do another video where I go more in depth on that for you, but that was a great question. I hope any of those things were even remotely helpful. So Mommy of 3 asked what I do for exercise, which I sort of already answered, and then what have I considered if I lose enough weight, what am I going to do about the excess skin? I've been trying to lose weight like at a fairly slow, like two-ish pounds per week. Like studies have shown if you lose much faster than that, it's more likely to come back. And 2 pounds is pretty much the average recommended maximum you should lose per week. So I've had some weeks where I've dropped more. And at my size, it's not really that much of a danger. It's more of a danger to still have it on me than to get it off quickly. But subconsciously was that I was hoping at a fairly slow, steady rate like that, my skin would have some time to readjust, to like slowly shrink back down. And there, during like the first 40 or so pounds, I really didn't see any difference in my skin. But I think now that weight loss is starting to outpace that. So I do think that when I get smaller, I probably will have to have the excess skin removed if it doesn't shrink back. I'm only 30, so there's still some elasticity in my skin. It's a little bit looser than it was before. It's not like folds of skin yet, but I'm 99% sure there will be. If some of you have watched like Obese to Beast, he's got fairly loose skin, and I started out much heavier than he did. And probably will not have like the muscles underneath to fill out that skin. Okay, so I know I haven't shown a full body picture, but I have a very pronounced peniculus. I would say I carry most of my weight there. If you're not familiar with what I mean, some people might say panis, but that's wrong. That's actually like a weird kind of flap of skin on your eye. That's a different thing. A peniculus is like an apron belly where you have a pooch. Mine is much past a pooch. It's like a duffel bag that hangs down past your belly button, sort of like folds over. That's where most of my weight is. And mine did hang almost to my knees, and when I would sit down, it would come out to my knees. Now it's about this far from my knees when I sit down, but I hate it. That is probably my biggest insecurity about myself, is my peniculus, and then this, which is quite a bit smaller than it was, but so my apron belly, I know, is going to have just a massive amount of skin there. And I hate it. But like, for example, my arms, like I have thick arms, I have overweight arms, and you can see like right here, if I bring the fat forward, there's still kind of a blob there. And this is mostly loose skin right now. But my arms and like my legs aren't as thick as you might expect them to be. It's mostly carried in that pouch. And so I know there's going to be huge folds of skin there, and I'm not looking forward to it. I probably will have to have the surgery if I can ever afford it. And if I can't, there was actually a man who used to live across the street from my grandmother who lost, I want to say, about 300 pounds, and he could never afford the skin surgery, so he would literally sort of like tuck and fold it around himself like a burrito, and that's how he would have to wear his skin every day. So I'm not looking forward to that. I really hope that I can get the skin surgery. So people like Jean-Claude, Obese Beast, he's comfortable with his skin, and I think that's fantastic. I don't think I would be. And I think, like, here, if this gets a little bit looser, I don't think that'll bug me so much. But, like, especially right there around my abdomen, I think that most of all I would want taken off. I don't know. Like, it's sort of I wouldn't say it's a sensitive subject, but the more I think about it, the sort of angrier it makes me because I let myself get this way. Like, I ruined my skin. Let's move on. Julie M. asked what are macros that I mentioned. I've done another sort of very, very introductory video on macros, which I will link to down below. Macros is basically short for macronutrients, which is your proteins, your carbs, and your fat. They're the three big sources of energy for your body. That was probably the most succinct answer I'm giving this whole video. Livy Lifts / the Prednisone Project asked what is the lipstick I'm wearing? And I thought I would answer this one because I actually got this a lot on several videos. So the one that she was specifically asking about last time in the Q&A video was this matte liquid lipstick by Milani in Adorable. But a lot of people asked about another one that's very, very close to this one. I'm gonna go full beauty guru here and swatch it for you guys. So this is the one I was wearing in that video. This is the other one I get asked about all the time, which is a Stila matte liquid lip gloss in Patina. And it's just a little bit pinker. Anyway, I get asked about these two all the time, so I thought I would just go ahead and show you. Normally if you get this, it's gonna be in a much bigger bottle, but this came as a sample for me. So there you go. Again, I know that seemed weird, but I get that question a lot on those, so I like the Stila one better, just FYI. Chunks of Plum, I like your name, asked how often I weigh myself. I only take one official weight for the week, and that's Friday when I weigh in, like today. But I do step on the scale sometimes every day, every now and then, a few times a day. And I try not to, and I know some people get a little bit, we'll just go with obsessed. Some people get a little bit obsessed with the scale. So for me, as long as I'm doing it to like monitor how things are affecting my body and not really focusing on the weight so much, like for example, trying to figure out exactly how much sodium my body can handle without holding on to a whole bunch of water weight, things like that. Just trying to actually get to know my body. I feel like that's okay, so long as I'm not obsessively weighing myself every day to be like, oh my gosh, I gained 0.2 pounds since yesterday, I can't eat for the rest of today. Which I've done. I'm not saying that that's never happened. I've had a pretty unhealthy relationship with food in various forms throughout my life. And I know the person who asked said that they're feeling a little bit obsessive about the scale. I say try and turn that obsession into sort of what I was talking about and turn it into something positive. Rather than it being just about the number, try and turn it into getting to know your body. Turn it into trying to learn to appreciate and understand how your body reacts to different things you put into it. You'll just start to understand the relationship your body's having with that number rather than just focusing on that number. I hope that made any kind of sense. Okay, so let's end the video on two little bit lighter questions that should be easier to answer, and hopefully I'll be a little bit less rambly. In a Pickle asked if I have any hobbies. I do, and I'm kind of a dork. I love playing board games. I also play things like D&D sometimes. I love to read. If some of you have seen my bookshelf, you probably got that. I write, and I paint, and I play a few instruments like the guitar and the ukulele and the piano. I don't have a piano here right now, but I play video games. I sculpt some. I like to do puzzles when I have them. I mean, I like regular puzzles too, but I like to build things kind of like this. This is actually a timer that it's not going to go because I'm holding it crooked. I do a little bit of archery. Also, I mean, I guess it's not really so much of a hobby, but I work on our house sometimes. The house that we live in is about 117 years old. It was built in 1900, and when we moved in, it was not in as good a shape as it is now. The people who lived here before did not take very good care of it, but if they had, we probably wouldn't have been able to afford it. So it was sort of a blessing in disguise, sort of a diamond in the rough, and it still needs a lot of work, but we've been slowly fixing it. So the problem with a lot of those, of course, is that they're pretty sedentary hobbies. So I'd like to start doing things like hiking again, but like I said when I was talking about exercise, I'm a little bit nervous about what that's going to do to my knee. I like to do all kinds of stuff. Some of my hobbies do not include cooking. Like, I hate cooking. I can't stand cooking, which is part of the reason I've been doing meal prep, so I only have to do it one day a week. And then Tamara Wilson asked how Josh proposed to me. I'll sort of summarize all of this. We were broke when we'd been dating for a while, and we didn't have enough money to buy each other Christmas presents. So we put off our Christmas until the middle of January, I think January 16th, because that was the next time we both got paid after Christmas. Like, we bought stuff for our families first before we bought stuff for each other. And so one of the Christmas presents was actually just a whole bunch of random stuff he'd stuffed inside of a box. And so while I was opening it, he was getting down on one knee, and inside, under a bunch of random stuff, was like a piece of paper that said, "Will you marry me?" And so then I looked up, and he was there on one knee with the ring and everything, and it was really sweet. And then finally, several people have asked me, like on Instagram mostly, what I do for a living. I wish there was a single answer to that. I do YouTube, obviously, but that is not my job, nor my main source of income, nor steady income. It's something I'm doing for myself. I also am essentially an office manager for a family business right now, so I handle all the appointments, the payments, the scheduling, the contracts, all of that stuff. And so I work from home from my home office here and do that. I also do freelance writing and editing. So as far as writing goes, it's been everything from the local university here hired me to write a chapbook, which is essentially a very short book on a distinguished alumni recently. And some people have hired me to write speeches or web pages, things like that. I also do freelance editing. So for example, I will do the layout and design of a book. Sometimes I'll design covers for books, and then actually edit them, put them in a layout, get them ready to send to the printer. I'm also a website administrator, which up until now I've pretty much used like website builders. But I've also been learning like HTML and CSS lately, so I can try and code my own websites. And so I do a lot of stuff, but I have also been in talks with somebody here at the university about a potential position I don't want to jinx. Because if you're very familiar with the state of educational funding, especially in the state of Kansas, you know that everything's pretty much screwy and up in the air. So for now, freelance writing, freelance editing, office manager, website administrator, and YouTube. So generally speaking, I stay pretty busy. This video, I'm fairly certain is going to be my longest video to date. So if you are still here, thank you for hanging in with me. As a reminder, you can follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, etc. The username Back to Chubby, all one word. You can also find a link in the description to my scale because I get questions about that a lot. It's a scale that is accurate up to 700 pounds. There's also one that's accurate up to 500 pounds. It's a little bit less expensive as well, but I liked this one because it had a wide stance because I have balance issues with my knee. So I hope that you guys will tune in again on Monday or Tuesday when we will do another Do It With Me weight loss, and I will get back on the wagon as far as meal prepping and stuff goes. And then hopefully next week I'll also have a different video, maybe starting to answer some of those questions I say I'm going to make a longer video on. Also, thank you guys for being patient while I was out of town and uploading that pre-recorded video about some of the diets I've done in the past. I guess I didn't make it very clear that was part 2, but there will probably be a part 3. Because that, again, it's not all the stuff I've tried. I've done a lot of stuff. So if you had any questions about any of those or any questions you want me to answer next time I do this, I might try and break it up a little bit more or keep it a little bit more succinct, just because I know a lot of you guys probably don't want to watch hour-long videos or however long this ended up being. But I hope wherever you guys are, you are safe and happy and healthy. Thank you for hanging in there with me, and I will see you next week. Bye.